Hey everyone, I'm Boom.
I'm Spice, and this is Fantasy Friday, Episode 4, the conclusion of the first trilogy in the Fantasy Friday series, the Liza Locke Lamara trilogy, the Gentleman Bastard sequence, Part 3, Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. It is not necessarily a trilogy in its entirety, but it is what we have for the time
Yes,
being.
yeah. So far, there are three.
Yep,
That means
it is a trilogy for
trilogy.
now. Now, there's something we've been avoiding discussing because we haven't had all three books to our disposal yet. But now that we've introduced all three of them in the non spoiler section, Boom, give me your thoughts on the covers of these
Yes,
books.
the all important cover review. We judging books by their covers.
We've read them already. We can judge them.
Yeah. So I think this is overall a pretty strong group. I think it's important to note. I don't know what edition this is, but the edition I have, I know I'm trying to see if they say it on here. This edition is nice. They're kind of they're bigger than the normal ones. They've got kind of metallic lettering on them with nice scenes. And I think the first two are really strong overall as covers for books.
Yep.
They both make you want to read the book, like off of a shelf. They look super attractive.
The last one,
nice.
It kind of fits the
Yeah,
the quality of the book.
Yeah, like the aesthetic is similar. It's like the original one that has like a gold leaf. Then it goes silver, and then like a lighter. It's more like bronze, silver, gold.
Yep. Bronze, silver, gold.
So it looks nice in that aspect, but as something I think we've talked about it before. Like I'd rather, or like in between episodes, I'd rather be seen reading the first two. The third one's cover just looks a little wild.
It's got like blood
on it.
It's a big tease. We'll get into it, but like it's also not representative of the book. Like Lies of Locke Lamara, the first one, that is Camor. That is accurate. The second one, Red Seas Under Red Skies, it is a naval battle. It is accurate. This one, it shows two like assassin people dressed in sort of Roman attire, I guess, but with also some like Asian influence. Like it kind of looks a bit kabuki, but like it's got some like almost like a Greek type of look. I don't know. There's also like some colonial American stuff to like the hat he's wearing, and it's not accurate to the book. We'll get into it, but it's not what happens in the book. It's just a giant tease. It's all it is.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. Like when you're making a cover now, look at us, the cover reviewers. But you don't even have to make your cover look like your book. Like you can have a beautiful book cover that makes me want to read it, and it's just blank but with nice lettering.
Yep.
Done well. So this one is just an odd choice.
Yeah, just to go with that. A tease, man. I don't get it.
Because it's all good. Like the lettering, the placement of the lettering. They've got a quote from
George R. Martin on all three of them.
Yep, I think it's the same.
This one says
that's different.
Fresh, original, engrossing. What's this one say?
A fresh, original, and engrossing tale by a bright new voice, and then a bright new voice in the fantasy genre.
So the whole quote, half the quote, another half of the quote.
Which it's high praise from someone who's big in the world. So it fits all the books, because you're only going to be reading them one at a time.
It's the back cover like those ones. Well, they're all about the same. They're all black.
Yeah. So
wait, there's some.
Oh, okay. Red Seas Under Red Skies.
It's got a bit of a map motif, like an old timey yellow map.
Yeah. So that it fits that way. It's just the image that they actually went with.
It's just kind of like ugly looking. Like I don't. It's got too much going on.
Yeah. No, I'd say my favorite's definitely the first.
I don't like the tease of like they're in front of like Capitol buildings. And the worst part of the previous book might have been we didn't touch on it as much as we should have. this is the third book in a trilogy, so spoiler warning for the past two. In this case, like the fact that there's like an uprising going on that only really takes hold in the last quarter of the book,
Hmm.
and this teases more of that sort of political machination stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we'll get to it with the spoilers, but like
Yeah.
this title is not the title.
It's a tease.
I would have.
The whole thing's a tease. Everything about it. And why? Why would you do that when like you've got a million good ideas in the previous books?
And the title sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and it's not even the best idea in the book.
No, but
meanwhile, the concept of this book from the title and the imagery is better than what you get,
from
and
the
it doesn't
actual
happen.
content, yeah.
It's so confusing. Boom. Would you recommend this to somebody?
I guess with this one, we're kind of getting into the same territory as we are with like the Mistborn series, where
Yeah.
it's like you've already invested your time.
Yes.
So it's very hard not to read the third and final book if you've read the first two in any case, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess you're gonna have to do it if you've read the first two. You're pretty much obligated to read the last one.
You're in for a shock.
Yeah.
It's quite a departure from the previous books.
Yep.
In tone, but also quality.
Yeah, we go from Lies, just solid book, couple things, red seas under red skies, like very, it's good. Also, lots of good ideas stuffed into maybe not enough pages, and then this one is like the worst of both. Like
a lack of good ideas over more pages and less world building, and it's just not good. Not good like that. If I had to give it a grade, it's like a C, a mid C.
I think that's fair. Yeah, it's not like it's a terrible book. It's just when you've gone through two books
that are great,
that are so good, like just so solid.
Yeah.
Despite a couple flaws that are you find everywhere, like they're good. So you're expecting more of the same.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of the series coming out of book 2. I'm like super excited to read book 3. And it just didn't quite hit that mark.
Also, it takes a step back into gratuity. So keep in mind the gratuitous nature of some of the. There's more assault, at least implied, than there was in any of the previous books. He also dips into the well of fantasy racism, which does not feel good from a series that hasn't focused on it yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of that in the B plot, which is the good plot, weirdly enough. It's the one with that. So keep in mind those things as a content warning, a trigger warning. If you can't handle sexual assault or racism in your books, don't read it. You don't have to. You can skip this one probably.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you've read 2, it's not like you're going to be missing out. It's more just like a completionist.
Yeah, and there's no fourth book to get to either yet, so you've got time.
Yeah, if that's something for you, you don't have to put it.
Yeah, and if those themes bother you anyways,
like you need to get through this one.
Don't feel obligated to read that book. And on that note, I've been Spice.
And I'm Boom. We will see you in the spoilers.
Oh, wait, the plug for the...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So the next book we will do officially for the Fantasy Friday series will be Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Then we'll get into the Mistborn series. And then there's a million other books we're doing.
Yeah.
Just hold on.
All of fantasy. We've got quite a bit going on.
Yep. And we're currently reading up for season 2. Have you decided what you want for book 1 of season 2?
I've got it picked out, and I've got it in somewhere.
You want to give it a reveal?
Maybe if I can find it real quick.
I'll talk while you look.
Okay.
If you're doing audiobook versus paperback, it's a little more relevant for this book because it's not a great book on its face. So like, it doesn't matter all that much. Like, it's fine. there's a worse, like there's worse books than this, but like it's an all right book. So like when choosing between audiobooks and paperback, just go with whatever. It's not. I read it paperback. It. I read it in like 2 or 3 weeks. There's worse books.
Yeah, I went audiobook with it just because I had for the others, and I like the narrator. And I mean, performance wise, good audiobook. Yep. He did a good job. So season 2, I think I had it narrowed down to 1984 by George Orwell.
That's what you want to go with?
I think so.
All right, 1984, season 1, or the first episode of season 2.
There we go.
And I'm reconsidering. Oh, I forgot. I read Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami as well.
Yeah. You said I forgot about that. But I do remember you mentioned it.
That one's a little more racy than some of his other stuff. Like, I might reconsider that one just because, like, I'd rather have a book without as much sexual content in our mainline series.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll keep reading him, but for the time being, it will go. Our tentative schedule for season 2, 1984, The Fall by Albert Camus, a book by Haruki Murakami, I'm not sure which one yet, The Stranger, also by Albert Camus, Pride and Prejudice, All Quiet on the Western Front by Eric Maria Remarque, When the Emperor Was Divine, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, Stoner by John Williams, and The Great Gatsby. And the theme for this upcoming season, which will happen in like a year, if that, is it's an even split in books between the two of us, and it's primarily books we haven't read.
Yeah, books we haven't read, big books,
important books, important books,
big time books.
Exactly, and they're split pretty evenly between the two of us in terms of our picks. Actually, split right down the middle.
Yeah, pretty evenly.
There's just some of them we would have also picked. Like,
yeah, we did have a couple overlappers, but
like The Stranger, Great Gatsby, things like that.
Well, yeah,
glad we got that settled.
Fun, yeah. There we go. I've had that you open it back up. It's been a while.
Yeah.
that just screenshotted, but I couldn't find it. It's been probably like since February.
No kidding.
Yeah, because I was gonna bring it to practice one day, and then it was like we didn't do it. Like we didn't. I was like, all right, I'll bring it with me. And then you were there, and I was there, and we didn't mention it.
Yeah, it's funny. We see each other like 4 or 5 days a week now, and we don't like discuss the podcast that much. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I guess the other thing we're doing is also very interesting to us. So we talk about that while we're there.
Yeah.
Every once in a while we'll have calls and stuff if what we're reading is particularly interesting.
If I read something
shocking.
bad and do it again. Oh, it just keeps on happening. Well, if you want to hop out now, go right ahead. We're going to be spoiling The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. Please join us next time for Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. On that note, I've been Spice.
And I'm Boom. We'll see you soon. And we're back.
Now, this cover says a lot about the problems in this book. And one of the biggest problems is the subtitle that is above The Republic of Thieves. It says, Locke Lamara is dying with 3 ellipses. Now, he doesn't die in this book. We know that. This is the spoiler section. And this tease is just like the cover photos because it's not a Republic of Thieves. It's a fake play that they're doing called The Republic of Thieves. That's the B plot.
Yeah.
So these are costumes. He doesn't die. Everything on this cover is a lie. Everything on it is a mishandling of true information or trying to lead you astray. Meanwhile, on these 2 covers, everything that happens is on there. Like it's
Yes.
Everything on the cover exists in the book. And I think it's telling because he read his own book and was like, this is not engrossing enough. So,
We're gonna deceive the
yeah.
audience.
And I would have read it anyways. That's the biggest problem. And it takes a lot of the good things and unravels them. Like, the biggest reveal is that Locke is basically magic and is the son of a bonds magi and survived on the streets because he was one. And they know his real name as a result. And the woman who knows all this is also the mother of the bonds magi that he crippled. And that guy all is teased to be like alive and also now powerful again.
Yeah.
Because he turned liquid metal into his own hands and feet
Yeah, so he's in like
and tongue.
at the time of like them getting drafted for this election, I
Yeah.
guess he's like living, but in like almost like a comatose
Yeah.
madness.
Like an asylum.
Yeah. And then he ends up getting more powerful than he was before
Through
weird magic.
metal.
But yeah, the past two books, that's been something I've been a huge fan of. We both have. Is our main character is not magic.
In a world of magic.
In a world of magic. That's super cool.
And he's still successful.
And then we figure out that he is one of these magic people, and that's helped him. Like, it's contributed to him surviving as a child, like inherent, like without maybe him knowing about it, but it still played a role in his survival. So it just, all of these, like a lot of these good things about Locke are taken from us.
Undone.
Like, and then, yeah, even like in the past, the things he's done that we're happy about are getting taken because it was because of his magic, which is just seems like a bad way to do that.
A punch in the stomach. And then Sabbatha is finally introduced, and it's disappointing.
Yeah.
There's weird stuff in her past that involves assault, and it involves like a culture of assault to people that look specifically like her. And we've gone over this before. Using sexual assault in a story is like dropping a nuke. Like, you need to have very good reasons, specific reasons for this. And it just is not, it's not justified for this book.
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. So yeah, so she's redheaded, and that's the reason, because apparently their blood or something about that.
It's some sort of, it's a fetish.
Yeah.
They're fetishized.
Yeah, so Locke, and he likes that she's a redhead, up until now, just because of, it's just, he just likes
because
her.
of her.
He likes her red hair because it's on her head.
Yes.
And that's cool, like
that's fine.
It makes her mad at first because of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a misunderstanding.
But it's like he's trying to tell her it's all because of you. Don't get that confused.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your hair. I like you, and I like your hair because it's a part of you. And then we go to find out like some weird stuff about Locke, like with the red hair.
He was like predisposed to liking people with red hair, I guess.
Like his mom had red hair
or something. Yeah, like a
weird
Oedipal type of.
All of a sudden, it's not genuine. Like you're and that
thinks it's genuine and it's not.
Yeah, it's like thieving Locke of some of his genuineness.
And by virtue of us, you're taking these good aspects of him and turning them into negatives, because why? Like, that's the biggest question. Why would you do this?
Yeah, that's our main character. This is the guy that we like. We've been with him through several books now. Yeah. And I like Locke. So to do things to actively attack my view of him,
it's character assassination of your own main character. To this point has been fun and meaningful.
Yeah, because that's a point that you like about him. Is his genuine interest in Sabbatha, even though she's kind of standoffish to him.
It's a crush. It's a fun crush.
Yeah, and then I guess it gets into kind of by the time they're meeting again, I think they take away from his personality just as he deals with her, because he's so
Smitten.
Yeah, you know, it's like he's just. It's almost like he becomes just like a just into Sabbatha guy. Like he
Yeah.
loses his personality, and it's
She's
all.
also meant to be so conniving and sneaky that it's like you've got a second lock there.
Mhm.
Which, why is she that good? Is she the daughter of a Bonds Magi now? I don't know what. And what does Jean even do? He lost his love interest. He lost his fighting, because it's not fighting really. It's a political battle between two people who don't care about these guys at all. They just use them as pawns.
Mm-hmm.
What does he have to do? Nothing. And then the B plot, isn't there like some weird like sex stuff with Jean as well when he's like still underage?
Yes.
That's not good.
Yes, there is. Like him and one of the keepers at
Yeah.
the place that they're
It's like
performing.
barely of age, like if that.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
Like
She
kind of
was,
like cocking his
pretty
husband
old.
or her husband. It's like that doesn't feel good. There's like some racism stuff involved in that, which Scott's a white dude. We're white dudes. I feel like you writing this, having a clunky metaphor for racism that's actually racism, just doesn't feel good. Like, there's some like, I've been thinking about Elantris a lot lately because I read it very recently, and it feels like the disease the Elantrians have is kind of like meant to be analogous to AIDS a bit. I could be reaching at straws, but like they get hurt and don't recover. They lose their hair and they get giant splotches. That's pretty AIDSy. I'm not sure about the hair one entirely, but definitely the splotches and not healing well.
Yeah.
That's pretty subtle. He doesn't have to say anything outright. And dealing with the discrimination against these people was it wasn't the most elegant of allegories, but compared to this, where racism stands in for racism, doesn't feel right. It's not immoral or something, it's just clunky.
Yeah. No, I completely see that.
There's perspectives on racism in fantasy that we can read, and it doesn't need to be from another white cis dude. It just doesn't feel like it's necessary from his perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another thing about it.
Yeah, and it's just a bummer, you know, like 'cause you don't really get that before. So now you're getting like story notes, you know, just plain storytelling that's not as good.
Yeah.
Adding on, you know, going out on limbs like that are just unnecessary and not a good time.
Most of the actors are unlikable. That's a new thing because even the villains before were pretty well likable. There's no especially cool settings at all, especially not the Bonds Magi, I think, because it's like everything feels too smooth. Like, of course they can fix them. They're magic. Like, of course they've got all these resources for them to use in this political battle. He's magic.
Yeah.
What's the stakes? And the cliffhanger, which all of these have had cliffhangers. First one, it appears Locke dies, they flee. The second one, it appears Locke dies, they flee. The third one, the like Bonds Magi is alive now, which I'm sick of the Bonds Magi. It was a cool tease in the previous book. This is enough. I don't like it. And the toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't make him not magic now. He's magic. Mm-hmm. And the tease is already there, so we're gonna have to deal with the Bonds Magi again.
Yeah, it just really it just narrows the scope with which he can continue these books now, because now we have to figure out what's going on with Locke. I'm not really interested in him being a Bonds Magi. That sounds terrible to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound fun at all.
And how does he beat the Bonds Magi now? He can't cut off his hands. They already did it. Now they're made out of metal, like this weird liquid metal.
They're made out of metal. Is he gonna know magic now? Is he gonna be able to
learn
how magic? And and it sounds like they're setting him up for he's gonna have to be a pretty good one naturally.
Yeah, because he's the son of a
superhuman abilities even for them, and
Yeah.
that's kind of turning into that trope we were talking
Yeah,
about. We were
exactly.
glad not to see.
And then John becomes just this third wheel. What's going to happen with him? He's just going to be the puppet of one of the two of them because they know his name and they're bonds
No,
magi.
yeah, it gets to be the same as a lot of books where like all of your cool characters, that all used to play
Yeah.
into it. If you're not the main character, you're not powerful enough to help. Like you might be able to do some, side bet, like just side quests.
He might
to
do
help.
it to subvert. Like it might be a battle between them and then boom, hatchet to the back of the head or something.
Yeah,
But that won't feel earned either because they're supposed to be these all powerful bonds magi.
Yep. No, it's I don't like where that twist is going. It tells of someone who's trying to like think of a new thing to do with the story, but like that's frustrating because there are so many ideas in the first two books. It's
Especially
like,
the second.
out of ideas. You have so many good ideas, Scott. Like you are.
And the
I
B
know
plot,
you got it in you.
The B plot's an example of the good ideas they still have. Like just send him, Callow and Gallo, to some sort of like school. Send, Jean to some other, merchant. Send Sabbatha to this seamstress and she has to deal with stuff there. There's a million cool ideas to just the ways Chains trained his kids. That is cool.
I like the idea. I think I would have liked the idea of the bonds magi just being like a scrape they had in that first book. Like you said, like maybe just tying them up with some kind of metal that can, subvert their abilities for a while and just deliver him back. Just be like, okay,
yeah, he failed, but
he didn't do the thing. We're not going to hurt him because we don't want to mess with you guys, and then just live in like tension with them.
Yeah, they could be reoccurring antagonists that they just have to avoid as best they can.
But now you're dealing with there is no that. There's it's only them being the big villain. Bad.
It is a giant cliffhanger that I don't care about, but it has to be resolved now.
Yeah.
Or else
you got a madman made of metal just killed his mother.
Who's supposedly one of the more powerful people in this world.
Yeah. So I just really think it's going down that trail where Locke's going to have to become the most powerful magician, and I'm going to be super upset.
So frustrating. So frustrating. Yeah, and there's more gratuitous stuff, like a bunch of kids hanging around watching other kids get hanged. That doesn't feel good. Like, I don't know, them stowing away a dead body for this performance.
Yeah.
This guy robs all of them, including the kids, for some reason. I don't like that guy. It's just a bunch of unlikable character choices.
I think Sabbatha ends up being a character I just don't really for all the buildup that we got about her. It just
feels like Locke 2.
It's pretty one-dimensional. Yeah, like just
another
even
crafty,
worse, conniving person.
Yeah,
who's mean to Locke.
Callow and Galdo. It feels very morbid to be watching them like hang around when they're gonna die at like 16 or whatever.
Yeah,
that doesn't feel good. They still have very little characterization. It was fine in the first book because they were around for like 200 pages, but now they're like key parts of the B plot, which is better than the A plot.
Yeah.
And there's still more you could have mined out of that. It's just like the best parts of this book aren't better than nearly the worst parts of the past two books. Like, you take the crammed ideas of the second book, I would love to read that again over this. There's way too much good stuff in this one.
Yeah, because if nothing else, it was fun.
Yeah. It's still cool.
I liked hearing about it.
Yeah.
I wanted more of it. It's like I didn't like hearing about it. I didn't want any more. Now I'm scared to read any more of it. Like I'm going, if he come with the fourth book, if and when, like of course I'm in it now. But it
might have to be all flashbacks. Literally all flashbacks for it to work for me. Like I'm gonna read it, but but I don't care about the current trajectory, and I don't want to know more about his magic, and it feels unavoidable.
Yeah, I think that might be something that Scott going for. Is like at this point where they're at, like it can't be far from some kind of, and like like
This feels
with
like
as
the revelation
powerful as
you'd
this
have.
person's getting.
Yeah, and
Uh,
like book 6 is when you learn that he's magic, maybe, and now you're 3 books in, and
it's like what is that?
I'm not even halfway through.
Yeah, and this feels like climax territory.
Yeah.
So maybe we will get a couple backstory books because the next one, well, the next one's called The Thorn of Emberlane. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's magic, so it's like, what does it even mean that he's like conniving and sneaky if he's just
Doesn't have
magic?
to be. Yeah, that's all the charm.
Yeah, it's like, why are you
It's
using
just being, 'cause
your
that's,
your wits now that you're magic?
yeah, and that's something like I'm okay with. Like I like fantasy books.
Mhm.
Sometimes you read about people who are super powerful. Like that's still enjoy. It can be, but like when we know Locke is someone who's just a little scheming, conniving, clever guy, and
Yeah.
now it's like this cool guy is now just gonna, I don't know, because he's got to be good at it. He's gonna have to be if he's gonna beat this now like ultra powerful guy.
Dune justifies having powerful characters. Like Paul is born of a reverend mother and a birthing cycle that was meant to happen one generation later, but happened before, so now it's a dude. And he's got the powers of a reverend mother, and also as like the guy who's gonna save Dune.
Yeah.
So he's all powerful. That's why. We know why. And even then, he still has to fight for his keep in Dune, in Arrakis. He's still challenged.
Yeah, because
And
he's power. Yeah, he's got these powers in the seeing, but it's like other people are also powerful.
because he's a
It's
kid.
a bigger scale. He's a child.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not just at an instant advance. He's got
Yeah.
he's got some stuff going.
He's
for
dealing
him.
with Harkonnen's nephew who's been training to beat him specifically
Yeah.
forever. Like, there's a lot of good stuff there. Like, shoot, what's his sister's name? Is it Ada or
Oh, it's definitely an A.
yeah, it is. Aaliyah.
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah's, like she was in her womb when she drank the magic water that turned her into this person who can see through the ages, and she's an abomination. And that's why she's powerful, because she's got these powers as a result.
Mhm.
That's why she is powerful. Everything in that world, whether you like it or not, is justified through the building of the world.
Mhm.
You don't get that in this,
No.
because at the beginning it's teased that he's just some conniving, sneaky, talented guy, and now it's like he survived because he's the son of a bonds magi. And it takes the
as soon
fun
as they
out.
drop it, because they drop it early, like Patience, the bonds magi who like gets him into the election.
Yeah.
Like she mentions it, like she's like, "Oh, you're actually one of those guys," and like we don't know if she's telling the truth. As soon as that gets teased, it's like you, Scott Lynch, you devious.
And it like ruins his
Person.
relationship with
Yeah.
Sabbatha, because then it's revealed that he likes redheaded women because
He is predisposed to like redheaded people.
Yeah, so now
we
it
don't know if
feels-
he's genuine or not.
yeah, which probably isn't, because he is predisposed to, and he was into her based on negative interactions that he still found attractive somehow. So I guess it's I get why he hasn't written the 4th book, and I know he's got his personal life going on, but additionally, this is good enough of a reason. He painted himself into a
Yeah,
deep,
it's
deep
a hard.
hole.
Like I don't know what. I don't know what the next one's gonna look like, but
You can't just abandon the plots,
yeah, just like
and
just
it retroactively
takes
makes
you back.
everything worse. Everything before it is worse because of this.
Yeah, maybe they can pull like a Legends of Zelda thing and just make a new timeline. Just like you start not liking the one you're in, so you can just kind of be like, that was what happened in this timeline,
That's
but we're
cool.
gonna bring it back.
You know what? Kill Locke. That might be the thing you have to do.
Maybe That might be it.
Maybe him and the Bonds Magi kill each other in battle, and now it's just Jean. And
That might be
it.
it. That might be a reasonable solution.
That might be it. They're just both dead now, and it's just.
Yes, I wouldn't be mad at a book about Jean. You know, like he could become like a.
He could
He
create.
creates his own school. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
he creates a gang, and then
that was
eventually,
a really cool little bit of plot.
And he embraces that religion about death, and maybe eventually becomes a priest with a family or something because he's been predisposed to have a family, and you deal with his family trauma. That might be the move. This next book, you use it to purge it of all the negative stuff of Locke being magic now and the Bonds Magi being weird, and you use it all to wipe that away. And it's just Jean dealing with the fallout and building his own clan.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I'd be more happy to read those. It's odd, you know, because he's got titles for 7 books. Like he has titled all of them, working titles at least. So that would, you know, lend to like he's got like this thing really thought out. Like he has plans.
So this doesn't feel
and he knows
like
exactly what he wants to do with these books. But like the way that 3rd book is written does not seem like there's a good overarching plan.
It took him more pages to say less.
Yeah.
This
to
is
say less and to say less good.
Yeah,
like,
worse.
Yeah.
This is like a C-.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fair grade.
The B plot is fine. It is worse than everything that precedes it, and on its own is maybe a B. And then A plot's like an F.
The A plot's really bad.
Really
I don't like, you know, and then even like the conclusion of the A plot, like where like they lose the vote, like even though they won the last one, and like they don't talk about any of the politics that happened, like.
And
so
now
all of a sudden now they lose, like.
Yeah.
Even though the only schemes that happened were them trying to get each other out of the doing stuff, but they didn't do anything. Like, you know, she sent him on that ship for a while, but then we hear of nothing she did to skew political views.
It's more to just prevent him from doing stuff. I don't.
Yeah, so that was kind of weird that happened that way.
The only Bonds Magi we know, other than the Falconer, is dead now. So that's cool, I guess. Waste of a character. Wasn't killed by Jean or Locke, or I guess Sabitha or anyone else we care about.
Yeah.
It's so bothersome that you take a world built like the whole artifice versus magic. It's meant to be equal at the beginning of the 2nd book.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's meant to be like, we've got a way to combat this. But like, it's a microcosm of the entire series that the only thing that can solve his poison is magic. And that's a problem for me. Any more thoughts?
I guess not on there.
Yeah. Scott, if you're listening somehow, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad. I'm just sad. It's bothersome, but I don't think you're a bad dude for fumbling the ball.
No, it's just one of those where if the first 2 hadn't been good, it wouldn't have been as disappointing.
Yep.
You know, like when we read some of these series, it's like we're not big fans. So then any good things, you're like, this is awesome.
Yep.
And any bad things, you're like, okay, well, it wasn't worse than this, you know, like it was along the same lines. And this, I mean, he just like, he threw up like a gnarly alley-oop, you know, like it was like perfectly placed with 2 books that were great.
He didn't come close to catching it.
No,
he didn't even jump for it.
Yeah.
Feels like.
But yeah, I mean, still like as a series, it has to be a strong trilogy just based off of 2/3 of it being strong.
Yeah.
I'd still recommend it.
You know, A-, even B to a C-. What does that equal? Like still an even B?
Yeah, it evens out to about a B.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's
good.
Feels
like a B.
Yeah, I mean, that's above just passing. I mean, you're doing good.
My biggest problem is that for it's foreboding. Like, I don't know what the next books could possibly do to make themselves good.
Yeah, because it doesn't end in a way that you can just end it. Like things are
It's a
still
giant
right in
tease.
the middle of happening. Like there's no closure at all.
It's a
So you
giant,
can't
giant
just
tease.
call it a trilogy and be like, okay, pretty good trilogy. It's
No.
like at this point, it's an unfinished work that's getting worse.
So, and it's retroactively making the previous books worse by comparison.
No, that's what kills me is like the whole Locke's childhood thing. Where you're like,
Yes.
man, this dude had to scrape and and to get by.
And he might not love Sabbatha like that, so it ruins all their opining for her at the beginning of the books. And it makes his romance worse than Jean's by comparison. And even Jean's was a little shallow because he only knew the woman for like a month. And it's like, it makes the Bonds Magi worse because they're less mystical and cool. Because like before, it was like, there's a bunch of these dudes, you see one of them.
Yeah, I just love that idea of it just being so dangerous, like so too hot to touch. It's
you cannot mess with
you
these
don't
guys.
even look at those guys around.
And now he's been living around them, and been fine. Man,
weird. Yeah, just it was tough.
Scott, if you're listening, I hope you're doing well. I'm not upset with you. It's just disappointing. Not disappointed in you, just in
no. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I've read worse books.
Yeah. Still enjoy the series. Enjoy your writing.
The B plot's not bad. It's just the A plot. And on that note, I've been Spice.
And I'm Boom. Thanks for listening.